chaps and chappettes, it's been a long time, but as you can see I've been busy working here in my new house in Winterfell. Skyrim. No, it's a garage really, and it's being transformed into my sulking room where I'll be coming to do reviews. Talking of reviews, this is a review, well, not of a game of such, and not really a twister. Follow me, I'll tell you a story. So, my little story. When we used to play board games, to decide who was to go first, I'd get Twister out, I'd get the little spinner out, we sit in the middle, spin it, and where it pointed was the start player. Then games started to come, and in the rules it stated who was the start player. For example, in Ticket to Ride, it's the player who has been to most European countries is the start player. Or in Timeline, it's the very youngest player which is the start player. Now this is good up to a point when you're playing with the same group of people all the time. When you're playing with the same group of people, it's always going to be the same person that's the start player. So what do? Well, for those of you who don't have iPhones and can't download a Start Player app or a spinning disc, there's this Start Player by Ted Asparagus. So in the box, you will find a deck of 54 cards, a starter player meeple, which as you can see is a bit faded. That's how it came. And of course the rules. And I have to tell you, this is my French version. I haven't got an English version. Let's do a Tom Bassel. Woohoo! 54 cards and a meeple! Is that all this is? Well, yes, basically it's just for deciding who the start player is. Now, the good thing about these cards is they come with two ways of figuring out your start player. You have a text here which you read aloud, and that will apply, and then you have this little arrow which works in the same way as the twister. Let's have a closer look at these cards. So how does start player work? Well, basically you get the deck of cards, you give them a shuffle, and you place them in the middle of the table in between all the players. And then you as players decide whether you're going to follow the arrow or follow the text. And then one player will turn over the top card. And then if you're following the arrow, for example, and the arrow is pointing this way, that means that the player who it's pointing at is the start player. Simple as that. If there is equality, it's in between, then you take another card and follow the arrow again. Or you follow the text. Now let me read this in my really bad French. Okay. Le prochain joueur donne l'argent à quelqu'un serait le premier joueur. Now that basically says, if I translated it well, that the player who has eaten the most spiders is the first player. No, that's wrong actually. Because nobody actually knows how many spiders they've eaten, because you kind of eat spiders when you're sleeping. No, that actually says the first player is the first person to give another player some money. This one is the first player will be the person that can stand on their one leg the longest. This one says the player who owns the most board games is the first player. This one says the player that has done yoga most recently is the first player. This one is the player who's sitting on the right of the person that turned this card over is the first player. You get the idea. The player who's wearing the most white is the first player. This one is the player who is the tallest is the first player. This one is the player with the biggest feet is the first player. Now as you can see, there's a kind of theme, and they're kind of denoted with these coloured meeples in the bottom. These green ones are about you personally. These red ones are about things that you've done. These yellow ones are about things in your life. And then these blue ones are action ones. So if there's things like you don't like I don't like these action ones, I take these blue ones out because they're quite easy to sort out from the rest of the cards. So there you go, that's Start Player. So what do I think of Start Player? Well, I think that it's a board game application which everybody should use. It is useful, it is funny, it is amusing. You could do without maybe certain categories like the physical ones, the standing on one leg. But the good thing is they're labelled what colour they are, so you can remove them and just shuffle the deck, put it in and take another one which is about your personality or about what you did recently. The cards are of good quality, the artwork is humorous and it uses obviously board game kind of objects. As you saw, my Start Player meeple was a bit worn colour wise, don't know why. But again, there's a lot of variety there. The other good thing about Start Player is that I can get it out and not scare anyone. Unlike when I get Twister out, and that scares everyone when you think, oh, we're going to play a game, oh, he's got Twister out, oh my god! And that's just for deciding to Start Player. So. The arrows on the card is a nice idea, but I feel it could have been implemented a bit better and bigger maybe. Another thing I would have liked to have seen is if the meeples on the cards, let's get one. So like, there you go, there's a meeple on this card, a yellow one. If you turn it over and you see a meeple on the card and whatever colour it is, if you picture colours before playing a game, whatever colour you are, if it matches, then you're the Start Player. So in this case, yellow would be. I find it very useful and I use it practically most of the time when we're playing games. Obviously there's some games which you can't decide the Start Player, say for example the Game of Thrones card game. But it is useful. One thing that does strike me a bit bizarre is it says it's for 14 years and up, which is why my 7-year-old daughter likes reading the cards, and she especially likes reading the card which says, oh, the person that's just spoken to their mother most recently is the Start Player. And that would be her, because mother's playing as well. It's a nice application, it's one that, as I said, I use regularly, and it's one that I'm going to keep. If you're not too happy about cards, I love shuffling cards, you can buy the app, which is about 99 cents or something on Amazon for your iPad or whatever they're called. I don't know, I just have a basic phone, eh? Poor. You caught me at my lunch break. Well, actually, I record all my videos in my lunch break. But anyway, I just thought I'd add a little section on to this video because some of you have been asking what kind of games I've been playing at the moment. Well, actually, none of you have been asking what kind of games I'm playing at the moment. But I thought I'd add a little bit on and tell you of a couple of games that I've played recently and just give you my thoughts and opinions of them, of the, you know, the spur of the moment. Okay, number one is a game called Invazions. Cue graphic. Now, Invazions is a zombie game, and if you're a Vassalite, please don't switch off. Please hear me out. This is a zombie game a little bit different to a lot of other zombie games, and it's not too bad. Basically, it's a card game, and it comes in. It feels like two card games banged together. It feels like Dominion, and it also feels like Netrunner. Let me explain. The hero player, there's one hero player, and their version of the game plays like Netrunner. They have these locations, and then they have some resources which they spend each round to put out people. Now, it could be civilians, or they could be soldiers that can shoot zombies, or they can be cooks which recuperate more resources for the next round. They also have research, which at the end of the round, they gain points for. and when they get to 30 points, they win the game. Now the zombie players could be 1, 2 or 3 people, have these hordes, and they start with 5 cards. And basically they choose a location where they're going to attack, and then they play their cards, and they have attack strengths. And these attack strengths will determine whether they've broken into the place, if they've killed anyone, if they've destroyed any researchers, but neither way, it doesn't matter. They will also recuperate a card which they put into their deck, and then they just keep building their deck. Also, these cards at these locations include victory points. And the victory points, when the zombies get to a certain amount of victory points, between them all, they can win the game. But these victory point cards block your deck. And also, if they've got a soldier, the human player's got a soldier, he can wound your zombies, which gives you another wound card, which blocks your deck. So that's Invazions by La Boîte de Jeu. Hopefully it'll be coming out in English, but at the moment it looks like it's just in French. And the second game that I'd like to talk about is a game called Splendor, which you've probably heard a lot about. Cue graphic. In Splendor, you're collecting these gems. You just take whatever gems you want, and then you use these gems to buy these cards, which have gems on them as well. And then you can use these cards with the gems on them to buy other cards. And some of these cards have victory points on them. And then there's these visitors, and once you get a certain amount of different gems, you can buy the visitor, and they've got victory points on as well. And the first player to reach 15 is the winner. Simple. It's light, it's fun. This is a game that I would introduce to my mum and dad. I'm not saying that my mum and dad are stupid, but this is the simplest kind of game that they would understand once I've explained the rules, and they wouldn't ask any questions, because once you've explained the rules, the game is simple. Sometimes I look at it as if it could have been pastiche light, where you're just collecting paint, you make paintings, and then the paintings, some of them got points on, and you use that painting to do that painting. But anyway, it is what it is. It's not bad, it's very fun. I immediately want to go out and get this one and play it again and play it again and play it again. It's simple but fun. But anyway, there you go. There's 2 games that I've been playing recently. Maybe I'll do this a bit more often, and until then, thanks for interrupting my lunch.